me get out of the way real quick. My name is Michael Hedesimer, and I'd like to introduce you to Expedition Outdoors International and address the question, can this business weather the storm? The problem we're trying to solve is due to the urbanization of America. Most families are moving towards suburbs and towards cities and are having less of an opportunity to connect with nature. A great example of this is Dr. Faye McIntyre, the dean of our wonderful Richards College of Business. Had a great quote. She talks about how she bought a lot of expensive camping equipment for her husband because at the time he was really passionate about getting into the outdoors. And then years later, they ended up giving it to their godsons unopened. They never used the equipment. Another great quote comes from REI, which is a business that does something a little bit similar to us. And he talks about it's a great way to experience backpacking. The guides took care of all the details, and the only thing the hikers needed to do was focus on the hiking. And the underlying part is extraordinarily important because Expedition Outdoors is an all-inclusive guide service where we provide all of the camping equipment that anyone would need for a weekend camping trip. We set up and tear down all the equipment, so you just show up and enjoy it. The only things that we do not provide are food and clothing. We don't provide food because there's obviously food preferences, but more important than that, there's food allergies, and we can't always account for those. And the reason we don't provide clothing is because, of course, I have a very small wardrobe. I don't think everyone would like my clothes. While they're out there on that weekend, we're going to be teaching them different outdoor skills, like how to set up the gear that we set up for them, outdoor safety, fire starting, cooking food, what plants to avoid, and different wildlife. Our primary market is composed of families and couples that are new to camping, and our secondary market is tourists to Georgia. We don't have a brick and mortar store, we're mainly online based, and so our marketing approach is going to be very heavily set on social media and our website. We will, however, because we do need to get in person contact with these people, are planning on making trips to homeowner associations and parent-teacher associations so we can get that FaceTime interaction and really show them what we're about and who we are. We then decided to look at some weather forecasting techniques to try to project the weather for our future camping trips. Sorry about that. So what we did is we went to the NOAA website, which is a governmental agency that collects weather data for the entire nation. And they collect basically anything you can think about that's related to weather, be it precipitation, thunderstorms, snow, wind, fog, everything. And I collected a massive data set of over 5 years of data for weather for the Northwest Georgia area. I took those areas and clustered them together in groups, such as Red Top Mountain, which is based off of the weather data from Kennesaw and from the Allatoona Dam. You can see from the list here that Tanner is our top hitter, which is right here in Carrollton, with a maximum cap of 26 good weekends for camping every year. You might ask yourself, what is a good weekend? A good weekend is defined by what would be the ideal situation for a family that's going out camping for the first time. So we're looking at a temperature between about 40 and 90 degrees, so we're not too hot, we're not terribly cold. Precipitation of less than 2 inches during the campsite, no ice, thunderstorms, snow, etc. Just an all-around great weekend to get to relax and have some fun. We really wanted to see, though, if location and the time of the year had any kind of a play on this, and so we ran a regression analysis on good weekends as a function of location and month. And what we found is that there was no statistically significant determinants of good weekends. So basically, it doesn't really play into it at all. We used Floyd Park for our estimates for future good weekends because of the kind of spotty nature of the weather data. When you actually look at it, there was a lot of data points that would either have a lot of precipitation but no temperature, or vice versa. Whereas Floyd Park, which we pulled a lot of our data from Rome, actually covered everything fairly well. And so, as you can see here, we cover the good amount of weekends from January of 2010 to January of 2015. And we do a modified moving average forecast from January of 2012 all the way to January of 2016. And what we found based on this data is that there's going to be roughly 28 good weekends for camping at Floyd Park every year. Going back and switching gears towards financing, our guided weekend trip is typically a 3-day trip, Friday through Sunday, though obviously customizable to fit every person's needs. And it's $9.99 for a group of up to 4. Once again, we provide all the equipment. They provide their own food, provide a guide, and all the outdoor and education training. On a typical event like this, we're going to clear about $573 in terms of profit, which will tie into our next slide, our financial forecasting. So, with what we're trying to look at right now, we decided we were going to start with 5 guides to really get us up and going really quick. And so what we built was a binomial table that showed our estimated profits based off of different probabilities of any one guide getting a camping trip on a good weekend. And so as you can see here, over the course of our first year, at a 60% probability rate, we will earn $48,000 in profit, that is after cost. At a 70% probability, we will earn $56,000. And then 80% probability, we will end up with $64,000 at the end of the first year. We use the rental model for the business, and so it's very easily scalable. And so even if it's anywhere between 50 and 90%, we can easily increase the number of guides within a moment's notice. It's just a matter of finding someone and contracting them to increase our bottom line. We have to use weather data because that is the major, most important determinant of whether someone's going to go camping. We estimated 28 weekends per year from Floyd Park, and we use that as kind of a reasonable proxy for all the campsites in Georgia, because the idea is, with the limited geographical area of Georgia, the weather's going to stay around the same in terms of a year basis. The binomial model estimates the probabilities of future revenues based on our number of sales for 5 guides, which, as I said, we can easily increase to increase our profits, with an estimated first year profit of $48,000 to $64,000. And so, to answer the question at the beginning of this presentation, can this business weather the storm? The answer is yes. Thank you.